Greetings and welcome back to the Casual Wargamer. Cheers. Hot chocolate. Now, this is a video that I've been pondering for a little while, and then last night, Liam Dempsey over on his channel goes and does a live sort of chat covering this particular topic. And I thought, darn you, Mr. Dempsey. So I thought, right, let's just throw it out there. Good kick up the backside. And that is, let's just turn this around a little bit, force organisation charts. Should they come back? So I would assume that the majority of you have played 40k for long enough that you know what a force organisation chart is. But if you're somebody that's coming with 10th and doesn't really know, it used to be for many, many years that you had a specific setup for building your list. The default for many years was you had to have a HQ, basically a character to be your warlord, and you had to have 2 troop choices, what we now call battle line. You could then have up to 4 other troop slots, 3 fast attack, 3 elite, 3 heavy support, 1 super heavy / 1 supreme commander for your Primarchs. And it was very restrictive. Now, my brain is failing me a little bit today, and I couldn't find my books to double check it, but it was either 8th or 9th. I can't remember which. They made a change to this, and they gave you a slew of new FOC charts. You had a combat patrol, battalion, and brigade. I can never remember which way around they went. But they were designed for smaller size games and larger size games. So a combat patrol, I think it was called, was basically 1 character and 1 troop. Then you had your default one, which I think they made it 2 characters and 2 troop. And then the larger one, I think, was 2 characters and 3 troop. And then you had specific ones if you wanted them for things like I think it was called an outrider detachment, which gave you access to fast attack rather than troops. There was one for elites, there was one for heavy support. But these cost you command points, which you had to start the game with back then. It wasn't something you generated like you do now. But if you had an appropriate character, say a Space Marine captain on a bike, you could unlock the outrider detachment for free. Then at the beginning of 9th, well, no, not beginning of 9th, beginning of last year with 9th, I should say, they released their little rules tournament pack update. And that changed things. Because that went, you've got to have a HQ, and then you choose which you want. Troop, elite, fast attack, heavy support. You can then have more of those and only 3 of the others. And then it gave you like little slots for a few other smaller things. And it opened things up really, really well. And I knew that this was going to be something towards how 10th edition would work, not knowing at the time that 10th was only a few months away. So the old FOC chart was restrictive. Horribly so. Because I know that here, for example, at our local tournaments, at 1,000 points, we went for, you had to take that middle detachment. Again, I can't remember which one it was called. So you had to have 2 HQ and 2 true choices. And I never wanted a second HQ option. I only wanted the one. But I was forced to basically spend a small amount of points on taking a lieutenant, just cheap model, get it out of the way. Then you had your troop tax. And this was one of the things that people didn't like, I think, with the FOC in the past. You were taxed on troops. Nobody wants to take troops. They want to take all the cool stuff. And what you would find is, say, Space Marine opponents, players, would take small scout squads, which were troops at the time, to just get it out of the way, like I was doing with the lieutenant for the characters. But you generally found that with the force organisation chart, people's lists were a lot more. You could still do some twinky stuff, but lists were a lot more balanced because people were not able to just take whatever the heck they want. But the downside was that it was restrictive in that you had to have this, you had to have these troop choices, and then you were limited to 3. It wasn't like it is now. It's like 3 of a entry in your codex. It was 3 fast attack, 3 elites, 3 heavy support. Oops. Getting over eager there. So it was good for balancing out lists. People had to really cherry pick what they took, but restrictive. Compare that to what we have now, where you only need to take a character to be your HQ. And I liked it originally. I thought it was very good because it did let you take whatever you want. I still always played Battleline. I think it doesn't feel right to me as a Space Marine player not to be taking an Intercessor or a Tactical Marine or a whatever. Your battle line, as they are now, are what your army is meant to be based on. And yet I see lists all the time which don't take any. I see this not just Space Marines, but in every thing. Unless you've got a very specific detachment which doesn't necessarily require you to have it, nobody wants to play Battleline. You just don't see it. And I think that's a problem. And the fact that you are limited, you are almost unlimited, i.e. using the example before of 3 per data sheet, you could have a Space Marine list that's 3 Ballistus Dreadnoughts, 3 Brutalis Dreadnoughts, 3 Redempted Dreadnoughts, 3 Tech Marines, and maybe fill out the last few points with whatever. Be a big size game, but that's a bit of an outlier, sort of odd list, but it shows where are your troop choices. On the flip side, it's much easier to do something like a Deathwing or Ravenwing list, and much more easier to do a Samhain Jetbike list, which was a struggle before with the FOC because you'd have to take Guardians or Dire Avengers and waste your points. Now, I liked this open plan list building originally, but the more it's gone on, we're coming up to a year of 10th now, and I'm beginning to feel that I actually want to see a force organisation chart come back in some form. Yes, it's more restrictive, as I said, but you'll see more balanced lists. You'll see less sort of twinkified lists. It would hurt certain detachments, but it would also make them work better against everybody else. Perhaps even Games Workshop could add a specific force organisation chart for each detachment. The other option, of course, is that each detachment turns around and says, this unit is now battle line. So Carnifex has become battle line for Crusher Stampede or, what have you. But I would definitely like to see the FOC come back. I don't think we're going to get it. I think Games Workshop like this particular model they're doing now because it sells more models. But yeah, I'd certainly like to see it come back. I'd certainly like to see you have to play Battleline. I know we're getting some of this with the Prior Nexus deck coming up in a few weeks, but I don't know that it's going to be a big enough change to force people to play Battleline. We'll have to see. Anyway, what are your thoughts on bringing back the Force Organisation chart? Would you like to see that? And if so, why or why not? If you'd like it to stick to the current one, which is what I'm expecting more people to say, especially if they came into the game in 10th, why you'd like to keep that over an FOC. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Staying to the end. Do me a favour, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and join me in the comments down below. Until next time, take care and good gaming.